people of the West. Rebecca Wilson here with Mama Bear Media. Now, I know that last week I put on my Facebook that I might be changing the topic of what I've been speaking about. However, I really just can't do that. I just feel like this topic of Islam is the most pressing topic that I should be talking about, and I don't know anyone else doing it in New Zealand, and I really think that we haven't scratched the surface. We haven't covered enough. So I'm going to continue reading from the same book, Sharia Law for Non-Muslims by Bill Warner, who has a Centre for the Study of Political Islam. And today I'm going to actually hit you with some of these heavyweights, and I'm going to include a little bit of content from Bill Warner, from David Wood, who has a channel, Axe Apologist. He is a Christian man and he talks a lot about Islam. And Robert Spencer is another heavyweight in the search for the truth when it comes to Islam. And there is another man whose name escapes me right now, but he is an ex-Muslim, and I'm going to put a little bit of what he says about the topic today. So the topic today is the Kafir, and until now we have looked at the big picture of Sharia with this book that I read from and with what I talk about. And we have looked at the position of women under the Sharia law. But now we come to a new subject, the unbeliever or the non-Muslim. And that is pretty much everyone who's watching this video. It's me, it's your family, it's your friends, it's everyone in the West who is not a Muslim. It's everyone in the world who is not a Muslim, everyone, including Christians and Jews, who are considered people of the book by Islam. But we will cover all of that. So I'm trying to incorporate now a bit more of my own commentary, I suppose, on the things that I'm going to be reading out. I don't just want to read this whole book. However, I do kind of want to, because it's just such amazing information, and I, again, like I said, don't know anyone that is covering this topic, and it is so important to know, especially with like what is going on in Israel and Palestine. And I really implore and encourage anyone who wants to know more to go and watch everything that David Wood has done, everything that Robert Spencer has done, all of their videos on YouTube, because they have dedicated their life to this subject. And it's one thing to pick up the Quran and maybe get some of the hadiths, the traditions, and read about those, or go on to Wiki Islam. But I found that the best way that I learned about Islam was actually watching the work and reading the work from people like Bill Warner, who has a centre for the study of political Islam. Robert Spencer has a website called Jihadi Watch, and it's the only one in the world, as far as I'm aware, because this is all whitewashed. And Islam has actually been an enemy of the West for thousands of years, and somehow it's always kind of like pushed under the rug, and we are kind of insulted almost to be ignorant, and to the Kafir to be lied to about what the real intention and purpose of political Islam is, and that is to take over the West. It is to take over the world, not only the West, it is to take over the world, okay? That is the intent. That is the intent of political Islam. And that is why it's so important to know. Like, the religious aspect is not going to affect us. It's not going to affect us. It's not going to affect atheists or Christians or Jews or pagans or whatever your religion is, if you have none, an atheist, whatever you believe, it's not going to affect you how somebody prays. But political Islam and Sharia law will affect you. And that is why I think that is such an important topic. And I said last week on my Facebook that I might change the topic because it does kind of get me worried. I mean, it should get you worried with what we've covered already. Stoning of adulteress is, it's not men that get stoned to death. It's always the woman. And it's just such a depraved political system for freedom, for truth and love, which are the things that I stand for: truth, love, and freedom. It's so against all of those things that we need to talk about it. And this whole new age agenda of it's all love and everything's all love and everything's positive and just focus on the positive, because if you focus on the negative, that means that you are bringing that in. That is complete and utter garbage, okay? That is complete and utter garbage, and it is another tactic that the darker cultists use against us to basically get us to stand down. They make it so it becomes a stand down operation because everything's all love. And there is certain aspects to that I believe and resonate with, but there are also when it comes to things that we should be aware of, like knowing that there are people out there and there is a religion, a political system out there that is coming into every single nation in the West that has the intention to take over the world and to slaughter and subjugate us, anyone that doesn't believe in Allah or Muhammad as is prescribed in the Quran and the Hadiths and the Sirah. Anyone who doesn't believe that and says no is going to pay a price. And you might not think that this is going to affect you, but it will affect you in 10 years and your children in 15 years. Like the son of the leader of Hamas talks about, Mossab Habib, I think his name is. I need to go check that. But he basically says that the West has 15 years, okay? So I've had a couple of comments about how I kind of seem like this is urgent and what I talk about is urgent. And it's because I believe it is urgent. I believe that we shouldn't be leaving this to our children to fight. And we have a chance now to stop it and to recognize what is happening, to recognize that these practices are coming into New Zealand, they are coming into Australia, they are coming into Canada, they are coming into the US, they are already in the UK, and there are Sharia law courts already in the UK. And if the longer that we leave it, the worse it's going to get, okay, because of the birth rates. One of the biggest reasons is the birth rates, because Muslim men are allowed to have 4 wives and they have as many children as possible, and that means that we are going to be outnumbered in our own nations that our fathers and forefathers died for, to protect the secular Western democratic nations that we live in, where freedom of religion is upheld, freedom of association, freedom of basically everything, So I guess that's a little prelude to 10 minutes of why I'm not going to stop making these videos, because I just feel like it is the most important thing that I could be doing, exposing Islam. Because not many people have ever picked up the Quran. Not many people have ever watched any videos from Robert Spencer or David Wood or Bill Warner. Those are 3 heavyweights that I would really implore all of you to go and watch. And I'm going to put a short clip from each one of them on this video so that you all know who they are and what they look at, and what they talk about. And so that you can find them yourself on YouTube or Rumble. So I'm going to start reading the section now, chapter 5 of this book, Sharia Law for Non-Muslims by Bill Warner. So credit goes to him. I hope he doesn't copyright me because I'm trying to help. You can also go to his YouTubes and obviously watch what he talks about on there. When you're hearing this from me, if you're one of my friends, then I think it hits harder than some random person that you've never met before in your life, you know? But I'm not obviously, it's so annoying having to do so many caveats in what I talk about, but obviously I'm not trying to say that I'm better or more righteous than anyone. I'm just trying to tell the truth, okay? That's all that I want to do. Truth, love, and freedom are the main goals of my podcast, of the point of me making these videos. And if you want to incorporate those things in your life, then you need to look at things in your life that are stopping you from doing that, or things in the future that might stop you from doing that. And that is what Islam is. We don't have that long in the West. And you can think what you like about that, but I believe we don't have that long. And I'm not being righteous. I'm trying to help, okay? I'm trying to help in a quick way and do what I can to expose the truth about Islam that you won't hear from many other places but my channel, Bill Warner's channel, David Wood's channel, and Robert Spencer's channel, and others like that, right? So there goes a bit of a caveat. Now I'm going to start reading about the Kafir. So here we go. We now come to a new subject, the unbeliever or the non-Muslim. The word non-Muslim is used in the translation of Sharia law, but the actual Arabic word used is Kafir, K-A-F-I-R. The Arabic plural is kufar or kufar, K-U-F-A-R, K-U-F-F-A-R. I've also chosen to write the plural as Kafirs, K-A-F-I-R-S. But the word Kafir means far more than non-Muslim. The original meaning of the word was concealer, one who conceals the truth of Islam. The Quran says that the Kafir may be deceived, plotted against, hated, enslaved, mocked, tortured, and worse. The word is usually translated as unbeliever, but this translation is wrong. The word unbeliever is logically and emotionally neutral, whereas Kafir is the most abusive, prejudiced, and hateful word in any language. There are several words for Kafir. People of the book and infidels are Christians and Jews. Pagans are polytheists. Kafirs are all non-Islamic religions and atheists. Islam devotes a great amount of energy to the Kafir. The majority, 64%, of the Quran is devoted to the Kafir, and nearly all of the Sira, 81%, deals with Muhammad's struggle with them. The Hadith, the traditions, devotes 37% of the text to Kafirs. Overall, the trilogy devotes 51% of its content to the Kafir. Now, I just want to add a little comment in here from myself. This is not in the book. Now, I want to say that I am not othering Muslims. They other themselves. Okay? That is the point, one of the points of this chapter. It is showing how Muslims are instructed not to be friends with us, not to hang around us, and that we are dirty. Because we don't believe in Muhammad, because we don't believe in Allah, we can be cursed, we can be hated against, we can be deceived, we can be lied to, we can be treated like garbage, you know? So I am not othering Muslims. They other themselves. So anybody that wants to say that I am hateful for talking about this, you need to do your research. You are actually the one who is ignorant here, and I'm trying to show you that it is them. It is these religious texts and political Islam that tell Muslims they should not be friends with us. They should not show us kindness. They should not give us charity or anything like that, which is why when they come to our Western nations, they create their own societies. They create their own enclaves, which then become no-go zones like Lakemba in Sydney, where Lauren Southern tried to go and record and do some of her journalism there, and she was stopped by the police because it is a no-go zone where Kafirs are not allowed to go, because if they do go there, they're in danger. She was in danger. That's why the police stopped her. And this is in Western nations. It's happening all over the West. It's not just in Sydney, Lakemba. It's in most places where the Muslims
I'm headed to an area called Lakemba in Sydney, Australia. And it's supposed to be a very high Muslim population area, kind of like Markslow or Molenbeek in Europe. I think that in Australia, the no-go zone areas wouldn't be as bad as Europe just because they've got less mass immigration. But I've heard some pretty bizarre stories about riots, about attacks, kind of grooming gangs in Lakemba as well. So I want to see what's actually going on there. Is this actually a no-go zone? Or is it integrating perfectly? The only way I get to know these things is if I go on the ground and check it out. So let's see what we find out in Lakemba. As soon as we arrived in Lakemba, things were tense. There were heads turning, people coming out of shops to look at us and find out what we were doing. Men started yelling in Arabic across the street at us. I hadn't even been in Lakemba 10 minutes before someone had tipped off the media, and they came running to combat me and tell me this was a perfectly safe area and I had nothing and no reason to be there. Almost immediately, the media's story was proven to be wrong. As we went to go for a walk to the local mosque, a very high-ranked police officer came up to me and begged with me, do not go there.
Where's the... Southern, is it?
Speaking.
Inspector Rick Ages from Campsie Police.
Yep.
I've been informed that you're intending to attending the Lakemba Mosque, is that correct?
I actually have no intentions of attending. I was just planning on walking through the streets and seeing how the culture was here.
Yes?
Yep.
Are you satisfied with that?
Yep.
So where do you intend on walking to now?
I was just going to walk out and check how the mosque was.
Check where the mosque was?
Yep. Would I not be allowed to attend if I wanted to?
I've got grave concerns that you may cause an imminent breach of the peace down there, so I'm asking you not to attend.
Why would I cause a breach of the peace?
Because it's highly religious down there.
So would it be me causing a breach of the peace, or would it be the people there?
Well, your presence may cause them to be, be offensive and be objective to your attending there.
And so that would be them being offended by me.
Can you not interview me? The local community walk around here without any fear. I walk around here without any fear.
Right, but I'm a critic of Islam.
Yes.
So I can't be in this multicultural because my culture is allowed to have free speech and criticizes Islam.
I understand you have your own beliefs and you're allowed to have your own beliefs. I have no issue with that. I'm asking you not to attend down there because I have a fear that you may cause an imminent breach of the peace. In doing so, you may commit an offence.
Am I allowed to walk through the area?
I'm asking you not to go down the Haldon Street. You're
asking me, but do I have the legal right to walk down this area?
At this point in time, no.
I know you're walking away, but I would like to do some interviews. Would I be allowed to do interviews?
No, you're not welcome in there.
No, I'm not. No, just to do interviews on the street. Am I allowed to?
No.
Why not?
Because I'm asking you not to.
Would I be allowed to? Okay, no cameras, nothing. Would I be allowed to talk to people and criticize Islam?
No.
Why?
Because I'm telling you, no, you're committing an offence. Why do you need to do it here?
Because this is a highly Islamic area.
What questions do you intend asking?
Could I not talk to people and criticize Islam?
Question? Why do you want to... Why do you want to criticise Islam like I said, if you're inside, I have fear that you're going to cause a breach of the peace.
No, you have fear people will be offended by me.
No, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And you're committing a breach of the peace. I've given you that warning. And if you do that, you may be breaking the law. Do you understand that?
Yep, I understand it. I perfectly understand. As far as I'm concerned, you have Sharia law here. As far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we'll go to jail if we talk to people. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, they have Sharia law here. I was told if I talk to people, even if I put all my cameras away, I can't criticize Islam to people here on a public street in Australia, in Sydney. Don't tell me you don't have no-go zones. Don't tell me this is a multicultural country. Lakemba is a monoculture, and it is one that does not allow critique of Islam. It is one that does not allow free speech because it is conquered land.
So I want to say that I don't other Muslims, they other themselves, and you should get that idea. That should register from what I'm about to read out and what I have already read out. Right, so the Sharia does not devote nearly as much to the Kafir since Sharia law is primarily for Muslims. Besides, the Kafir has few rights, so there is little to expound upon. Religious Islam is what Muslims do to go to paradise and avoid hell. What Muhammad did to Kafirs was not religious, but political. Political Islam is what is of concern to Kafirs, not the religion. Who cares about how a Muslim worships? But every one of us is concerned as to what they do to us and say about us. Political Islam should be of concern to every Kafir. Here are 2 Sharia references about Kafir. W59.2 from the Reliance of the Traveller. And this clarifies the Quranic verses, the hadiths about hatred for the sake of Allah and the love for the sake of Allah. Allah wala wa al bara. Being unyielding towards the Kafirs, hard against them and detesting them, while accepting the destiny of Allah Most High, insofar as it is the decree of Allah mighty and majestic. Unquote. Hatred for the sake of Allah and love for the sake of Allah is called al-wala wa al-bara, a fundamental principle of Islamic ethics and Sharia. A Muslim is to hate what Allah hates and love what Allah loves. Allah hates the Kafir. Therefore, a Muslim is to act accordingly. From the Quran, chapter 40, verse 35. They, Kafirs, who dispute the signs, Quran verses, of Allah without authority having reached them are greatly hated by Allah and the believers, Muslims. So Allah seals up every arrogant, disdainful heart. H8.24 from the Reliance of the Traveller. It is not permissible to give charity, zakat, to a kafir or to someone whom one is obliged to support, such as a wife or a family member. Here are a few of the Quran verses or references to the kafir. A kafir can be mocked. Quran 83:34. On that day, the faithful will mock the Kafirs while they sit on bridal couches and watch them. Should not the Kafirs be paid back for what they did? A Kafir can be beheaded. Quran 47:4. When you encounter the Kafirs on the battlefield, cut off their heads until you have thoroughly defeated them, and then take the prisoners and tie them up firmly. A Kafir can be plotted against. Quran 86:15. They plot and scheme against you, Muhammad, and I plot and scheme against them. Therefore, deal with the Kafirs and leave them alone for a while. Because if they leave us alone for a while, we might think that they're nice. The political Islamists are nice. We might think, oh, they're okay if they leave us alone for a while. It's like, you know, the frog in the pot. You don't turn the heat all the way up straight away, because then people know what's happening. You know, then the frog knows what's happening and he jumps out of the pot. He doesn't want to get cooked alive. But if you're plotting against someone, you turn the heat up incrementally and do things incrementally. as to remain undetected. A Kafir can be terrorized. Quran 8:12. Then your Lord spoke to his angels and said, I will be with you. Give strength to the believers. I will send terror into Kafirs' hearts, out of their heads and even the tips of their fingers. A Muslim is not a friend of a Kafir. Quran 3:28. Believers should not take Kafirs as friends in preference to other believers. Those who do this will have none of Allah's protection and will only have themselves as guards. Allah warns you to fear Him, for all will return to Him. A Kafir is evil. Quran 23:97. And say, O my Lord, I seek refuge with you from the suggestions of the evil ones, Kafirs, and I seek refuge with you, my Lord, from their presence. So that explains one little reason why they never make friends with us. They never integrate into our societies because they're not allowed to. They are literally commanded not to, especially not over their own people, over the believers, over the other Muslims. A Kafir is disgraced. Quran 37:18. Tell them, yes, and you Kafirs will be disgraced. A Kafir is cursed. Quran 33:60. They, Kafirs, will be cursed, and whenever they are found, they will be seized and murdered. It was Allah's same practice with those who came before them, and you will find no change in Allah's ways. So it's really important to note here that the Quran is 1400 years old, and it is looked at as a perfect book because it is the word of God, Allah, as spoken, narrated by Muhammad, because he was illiterate, he could not read or write 1400 years ago, and Muhammad is looked at as the perfect human, the way to live one's life. And so if it says this in the Quran, this is the word of God, and it cannot be changed. In order to change one word in the Quran would be changing the word of God in Islam, and that is punishable by death.
I came to my study of Islam late in life. I had studied religious texts all of my life, starting being a teenager. I've studied Torah at the Orthodox Synagogue. I've studied the New Testament a fair amount. I've studied Buddhist sutras. I've studied the Bhagavad Gita. I've studied a lot of religious texts. And then I came to Islam. Islam was very different because it was so concerned with the non-Muslim. You see, when you read Buddhist sutras, it's concerned with how to be a Buddhist. It doesn't concern itself with non-Buddhist. Now here's the problem. Not only did Islamic doctrine concern itself with the non-Muslim, the treatment of the non-Muslim was terrible. There were two treatments of the non-Muslim. One is religious in that they went to hell, but the other is political, what happened to them in life today. So we need a special name for the non-Muslim, because non-Muslim is a neutral term, and yet the non-Muslim is not treated neutrally. They can be enslaved, tortured, raped, lied to, deceived, plotted against. These are not neutral things. These are political terms, and they're very harmful. Now, the Quran has a word for the non-Muslim. It's called Kafir, K-A-F-I-R. Now, like everything else in the Quran, the meaning slightly shifts over time. At first, the word Kafir just means someone who's not grateful or who covers the truth. But as time goes on, finally the non-Muslim, the Kafir, can be destroyed in jihad. So there's a progression of different meanings of the Kafir, but in the end, the Kafir can be harmed. And that's the reason I don't like being a Kafir. Now, you all know I like to measure things, and so one of the things I measured was how much of the Quran, the Sirah, and the Hadith are about the non-Muslim. The answer, 51%. That is, most of Islamic doctrine concerns itself with the Kafir, which is a political problem, not just a religious problem. Now then, the Quran uses a lot of different words for the non-Muslim that are religious. People of the book, pagan, polytheist, Jew, Christian, apostate, infidel. But all of those who did not submit to the Sharia suffered a political consequence, which was some form of harm: death, torture, execution, assassination. These are political ends. Now, Muslims like to tell us, well, you see, the people of the book, Christians and Jews, they're not really Kafirs. They're brothers in the family of Abraham. Well, let's see how these brothers in the family of Abraham are treated. Do you think the Jews that were executed as people of the book felt any different than the pagan who was executed? Nah, the political consequence is the same: submission of some form or another. There are different classes of Kafirs in the Quran. We have atheist, polytheist, deist, idolaters, and then Jews who believe in revelation but don't believe in Muhammad's revelation. But in the end, everyone's a Kafir who does not believe in the Shahada. The Shahada is there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. I view Islam as a political system, and the Sharia extends to all other religions, which is a political thing. They must all submit and run their lives according to the Sharia. The Kafir is a political class. Unfortunately, historically, their victims stand and suffer alone. That is, the Buddhists suffer, and who knows about it? The suffering of the Africans under jihad involved in slavery, who knows about that? The Hindus know about their own suffering, but they don't really know about the suffering of the Christians who were in what was originally called Asia Minor, or what is called Turkey today. So, although the people suffer, they suffer alone, and I want to use the word Kafir to show that they all are the same political class. Now I'm coming to one of my main points. Anytime I make a video about religion that includes Christians and Jews, I get hate mail about how people hate the Jews, they hate the Christians, they hate the Jesuits, they hate the Catholics, they hate the Protestants. Here's the thing: go ahead and hate them, but know this, you the hater, you're going to suffer the same political result as the Jew, the Christian, and everyone else. Get the picture. You may not like other religions, but in the end, whether you're an atheist or not, you're going to suffer the same political consequences. This is the reason I want to use the word Kafir to unite us politically. We're all the same in a political class. Now then, how do you know that if you use Kafir, it's the right word? And by the way, I use Kafir with a capital K because I use it to mean a special meaning: all those who suffer under Islam. Here's how you know you're using the right word. Do you know who doesn't want you to use that word? Muslims. You see, it's their little dirty word that's a secret. Now, we have a word in the English language that we can't use, and we call it the N word. Well, Kafir is the K word in Islam. So Muslims hate it, which is the proof that we need to use it. In the Arabic, the plural of Kafir is Kufar, K-U-F-F-A-R. But I don't use that. I want to use the English plural, Kafirs, plural with an S, because I want the word to become adapted and used. We must understand that all Kafirs are the same in the end, and so therefore we need to use the same word for each other. Thank you.